my name is Tatum, and today we're going to talk about all the books that I read in 2024. We have quite the stack here, so I can't wait to talk about each one. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about each book, what I rated them, if I like them or not, and if I recommend them. So let's get into it. The first book that we have is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This book was okay. I think I gave this book 3 stars. Does not have any spice in it, but there is a bunch of banter, which I do like in books. I thought the banter was done really well. So Powerless takes you through 2 different POVs. You get Peyton, the main female character, and you get Kai, he's the male main character. Peyton lives in the slums with her friend Adina, and they kind of have to steal to make a way of living. Peyton is a really great thief. Like, she's just very observant, and in a world of magic and people that don't have magic, Peyton kind of pretends like she's a psychic even though she doesn't have any real powers. And that's her kind of way of getting through this world where they're hunting people that don't have powers. The only thing that I didn't quite like about this book is I felt that it was very repetitive, especially with like certain phrases. I kind of got sick of hearing certain phrases for such a big book. I feel like a lot of it could have been cut out. But honestly, it was a pretty good book. I know this was one of her firsts that she ever wrote. There is a little bit of leniency, I feel like, when it's your first book and you're still learning on how to write and develop as an author. I did feel like it was a little similar to some other books that are very popular, like Hunger Games and Red Queen, but I still liked it. It was entertaining. I would still recommend it. I thought it was very fun to read. I do plan on reading the sequel, Powerful and Reckless, and I think she's working on a 3rd one, which is called Fearless, and I'm curious where it will go. I do still need to read Powerful and Reckless though. The next 2 books, we have A Touch of Darkness and A Game of Fate. I read these at 2 different times. However, one thing I wish I did was tandem read them. That's why I'm holding them together. I read them a few months apart, but I really like them. There is spice in this. I'm somebody that doesn't really like a lot of spice in books. This story is kind of like a modern retelling of Hades and Persephone. You kind of see their relationship grow and become together. Many ways, more than one. This one's focusing on Persephone's point of view, and this one is focusing on Hades' point of view. So you do get some different stories on like what each character is doing at the time, but it is happening at the same time. So I do recommend tandem reading them. I wish that's something that I would have done had I known. They're very easy to read. Writing is super easy to understand and it's fun, very entertaining. Overall, I think I gave this one a 4 and this one a 3, mainly because I wish I tandem read. That's pretty much it. These books, I do plan on reading the rest in the series as well. Next, we have 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. Truthfully, I hated this book. If I could give it 0 stars out of 5, I would. I wish I could have DNF'd this. I don't DNF books because I feel like in my brain they'll get better as they go on, but instead I listened to the audiobook just to really push through this. I struggled to read it and I had such high hopes. So many people were talking about like how you're gonna sob and you're gonna cry, but I hated this book. I hated it with a passion. I don't even want to look at it on my bookshelves. 1,000 Boy Kisses is about a boy and a girl who kind of go through a little love story throughout multiple years in their life. And it kind of just takes you through their relationship, how it grows and evolves throughout the years. It starts when they're very, very young, like literally like 5, I think, is when their relationship starts. And it just takes you through that friendship and relationship that's growing all the way up until they're like 17 years old. And there is a few time jumps and you just get to learn about their relationship and just everything that's changing and evolving along with their mindsets and their growth. If you're somebody that is currently like in high school, I feel like you would definitely like this book because there are some relatable things that happen. But if you are a little bit older or more experienced in your reading journey, then I don't think that you're gonna like this book. That's how I felt. I just think that I've outgrown this type of writing and genre, so I don't recommend personally, but could be for you. Next, we have A Court of Thorns and Roses, ACOTAR. I've been meaning to read this book for like ever. I've had it 3 years on my bookshelves. Speaking of which, we got a new bookshelf for all the new books of 2025. To those that haven't read A Court of Thorns and Roses, if I had to give a quick summary, it's about this girl who lives in a cottage in the middle of the woods. She has to hunt to keep her family alive and she ends up killing a wolf. And because of that action, so much more entails in her story. At the beginning, I did struggle a little bit with just the way that it was written and getting through the first few pages, but it was very good overall. I really liked the ending and learning about just the world. Sarah J. Maas has a really good way of just involving imagery in her books. Like, I love the pictures and the way the world forms in my brain with her writing. I love the way that it's written, and I gave this a 4.8 just because some of her phrases can be a little bit weird, like her bows went watery being repeated a few times. Made me feel weird. But honestly, pretty good. I am actually currently reading the second book. I'm about 50% way through this one. Next, we have the whole entire Shatter Me series. I loved this series reading it. Spice, there's literally like none, if any, that I would consider spice. You're in a dystopian world where there's magic powers that are granted to a few individuals, and they're kind of being hunted, and I thought that was very fun to read. You learn about the main character, there are some love interests. If I could reread this series, I would. I read these at the beginning of the year. It took me one day to read one of the books, and I literally bought the next one just so I could continue it because it was that good. I highly recommend this one. Next, we have We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, and I thought this book was good. It isn't one of my favorites, but it wasn't horrible. Still enjoyed reading it. It has a little bit of mystery, has a plot twist, and it was just fun. So this book is a young adult novel that kind of takes you through this family that goes on a summer trip every year, and there's a little bit of mystery behind that. That's all I'm gonna share. I read it pretty quickly. I think it took me like 3 days to get through it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5. This next book is called 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult, and I actually got this book from my grandma's. I really enjoyed this book. I read this on a trip going to Arizona, so a lot of this was read on a flight. It just really puzzled my mind, made me question like some of my morals and the way that I see the world and think about people, and I just really enjoyed this book. I give this 5 stars out of 5. This book takes you through like a trial where you're learning about the unfoldings of a school, and you learn about the events leading up to it and the aftermath. The book will take you through it. I was on the brink of tears. I highly recommend reading this if you are comfortable reading about that type of topic. Okay, this next series, I think I have to give 6 out of 5 stars. I loved reading this series with everything in me. I highly, highly recommend. The series is Once Upon a Broken Heart. I don't have the first book in physical copy right now because my sister is currently reading it because I had to share it. I read all of these literally in the matter of a few days. The first 2 books are very fast paced, so they were so fun to read and get through, and then the third one, I was literally waiting for the release date. I pre-ordered it, and honestly, I did love the way that she finished it. I do think the third book is my least favorite out of the series. The second book, this one, was my favorite. This one, full 6 stars. The first one, 5 out of 5 stars. A Curse for True Love, I'll give a 4.5. The only reason why this book wasn't one of my favorites out of them was because you do get taken through a point of view of a character that you don't necessarily like. That was a little bit hard to read, but I did like the way that she ended up ending the series. One thing that I wish I did do before reading Once Upon a Broken Heart was read Caraval first. I still have to read Caraval, but I know if you do read that series first, which is by Stephanie Garber as well, you might be able to understand some of the main character's motives and kind of what he's feeling a little bit more with his relationship. I do want to mention that Once Upon a Broken Heart doesn't have any spice, so if you're somebody that doesn't like it, I highly recommend. It was just so fun to read with like the way they're developing their relationship and the tension and banter, and I just fell in love with this world and universe. Stephanie Garber does a really great job of just building this imagery in your head with the world, and it just like everything was so clear in my head with the way that I pictured certain scenes. It was just beautiful. Like, I had the best time reading this, and I read them so quickly. I love them. This is literally one of my favorite books I've ever read, ever. And I'll read the summary for you guys too, so you kind of know what it's about. For as long as she can remember, Evangeline Fox has believed in true love and happy endings until she learns that the love of her life will marry another. Desperate to stop the wedding and to heal her wounded heart, Evangeline strikes a deal with the charismatic but wicked Prince of Hearts. Oh, I want to read it again. I honestly might. Once I get my first book back from my sister, I'm probably gonna reread this book, this whole series. I just want to be in the world again. But I wish I could read it for the first time. I just want to give you guys the biggest thank you if you've made it this far watching. This is my very first video for my BookTube account, and I just want to say thank you. I'm so grateful to be able to do this, and I'm hoping to see you guys along for this journey. It would mean the world to me if you could leave a like or any feedback about what you want to see more of, anything that I could improve with filming or anything, because that's definitely something I need to grow on. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Love you.